Hey everyone, I am Wendell B. Banjala of BSN Science 3. So today we're going to discuss about technology collaborative tools in the digital world. So for our objectives, identify and explore collaborative tools or application that can be integrated in instruction. Second, build a platform or an online account that can be used for a collaborative work. So for our introduction, the learners of this generation are new of a kind of breed, and it is important that the teachers understand how to deal with them. Yes, indeed. Today's learners possess unique characteristics and qualities compared to previous generations, emphasizing the importance for educators to adapt their teaching approaches accordingly. They seem to thrive in collaborative learning. They like to connect to the social networking sites. Creating and producing something are what they prefer to do rather than become consumers of information inside the classroom. They like to be mobile either physically or virtually as they traverse from point to point or side to side. Apparently, they seem to be investing a huge amount of their time in a digital, social environment, although they can be more self-directed and choosing what they want to learn, how they want to learn, and the way they want to learn. Today's learners thrive on collaboration, enjoy social networking, prefer creating over passive learning, are mobile both physically and virtually, and spend considerable time in digital environments is it. Despite this, they also exhibit self-directed learners' tendency choosing what, how, and when they want to learn. Technology as a collaborative tool. One way to engage students is to give them a challenge and a chance to work together. As an example is when you give them an issue to discuss which they can continue talking about even they are outside of the class. Students may continue to discuss the discussion and share information or come up with an agreement by texting, emailing, chatting, or using the online document. Once they have agreed, they can move to the next step of presenting their agreements or resolution to the whole class. Engaging students by presenting them with a challenge or issue to discuss collaboratively, they can continue the discussion outside of a class using various communication methods like testing, emailing, or online chatting, just like what I've mentioned a while ago. Once they reach an agreement, they can present their resolutions to the entire class, fostering active participation and collaboration. Next. Normally, in a regular classroom, teacher may have discouraged students from conversing with classmates during individual work. Yes, it is. But sometimes there are positive things that can come out of it as its students talk about the tasks assigned to them or as they work themselves for a complicated task. So what does it mean? While traditional classroom norms often discourage students from conversing during individual work, there are instances where positive outcomes arise from such interaction. Students may clarify task instruction or collaborate to solve complex problems, fostering deeper understanding and peer learning. Next one. There are a lot of available tools and applications that can be used work collaboratively with others. Some of these are Skypes, wikis, blogs, Google Form, web conferencing, real-time bound, among others. You need to explore each application to be familiar with the features. Various tools and applications such as Skype, wikis, blogs, Google Form, just like what I mentioned, and real-time bounds offer opportunity for collaborative work. Familiarizing oneself with the features of each tool allows educators to effectively leverage them for facilitating group projects and interactive learning experiences. So the first one, what is Skype? I know all of you are familiar with Skype. So Skype is a software application allowing you to do a video conferencing for free. All you need is to create an account and can be used for a video meeting. So, people use Skype for its versatile communication features, including video calls, voice calls, instant messaging, and screen sharing. It's particularly valuable for maintaining connection over long distances, whether for personal or professional reason. Skype's cost-effective international calling option make it popular for staying in touch with loved ones abroad, while business utilize it for virtual meetings and collaboration. Its user-friendly interface and accessible across various devices make it convenient choice for individuals and organizations seeking to connect remotely in real time. So I will teach you how to operate the Skype application. Using the Skype app is quite straightforward. Here's a basic guide. First, download and install. First, download the Skype app for your device application store. Example, Google Play Store for Android, Application Store for iOS. Install the app on your device. If you don't have the Skype account, you'll need to create one. Follow the prompts to sign up, providing your email, address, and creating a password. So in signing in, once you have an account, open the Skype application and sign it with your credentials. You can add contacts by searching for their Skype username, email address, or phone number. Once you find the person you want to connect with, send them a contact request. To make a call, tap on the contact you want to call. Then select an audio or video call option. If they are online, they'll receive your call and can choose to accept it. And sending messages. You can send an instant messages to your contact by tapping on their name and typing a message to the chat box. Press send to deliver messages. It seems like you are using a messenger application. How will you customize settings? Explore the app settings to customize your experience. You can adjust notification preferences, set up call, forwarding, change your phone profile, and more. So exploring additional features. Skype offers additional features like screen sharing, group calls, and video messaging. Explore the app to discover all its capabilities and how they can enhance your communication experience. The most out of Skype. So, first, call recording and live subtitles. Ito yung mga features ng Skypes. Yung as I've mentioned a while ago. Cell phones, you can make a call, private conversation, screen sharing, smart messaging, and audio and video calling. Para din siyang messenger. So, next one, Wiki. I know most of you are familiar with Wikipedia. So, it's a software that allows you to create a page or selection of pages designed to allow you to post or edit or upload a link quickly. This is a good when students need to work together to complete a task even they are not physically together. A task such as writing a paper together, planning a presentation, or surveying ideas from them. Team members can be managed by a wiki space that efficiently allows one to document the contribution of each members in the team, where it can be extended virtually and asynchronously. So using wiki typically involves the following steps. I will tell you how to utilize the Wikipedia or the wiki. First is to select a wiki platforms or software that suits your needs. Popular options include MediaWiki, used by Wikipedia, Confluence, and Wikispace. You can search that on Google Chrome. And creating an account. If necessary, create an account on the Choose Wiki platform. This may involve providing your email address, username, and password. Create a join a wiki. Depending on your purpose, you can either create your own wiki or join an existing one. If creating your own, follow the platform's prompts to set up your wiki, including giving at a title or description. Once you're in the wiki, you can start editing pages. Click the edit button or similar option to begin making changes to the content. You can add text, images, links, and other media as needed. So in collaboration, if you're working with others, invite them to join the wiki or share them link to the page you are collaborating on. They can then contribute by editing the page and adding their own content and commenting on existing content. I have mentioned most of the pros of wiki, but how about its cons? While wikis offer powerful collaboration features, they come with several challenges. Maintaining quality control amidst open editing can be difficult, leading to inaccuracies and misinformation. Vandalism and spam pose threats to the integrity of content, requiring constant monitoring and moderation. Version control issues and may arise with multiple contributors, necessitating careful management to prevent conflicts. Additionally, there's a learning curve for users new to wiki platforms, and security concerns may arise, especially for sensitive information. Organizing content effectively becomes crucial as wikis grow in size, ensuring easy navigation for users. Despite these challenges, proactive management, clear guidelines, and robust collaboration process can mitigate risks and maximize the benefit of wikis for teamwork and knowledge sharing. That is the problem of Wikipedia. Okay, next one is I know the blogging. I know most of you familiar what is blogging since we have already discussed what is the difference blogging or the blog, the difference between the B blog or the V victory blog. So in blogging, the letter B. In blogging, it is a journaling your ideas to which others can react, allow a thread of discussion to take place, and which can be used online. It is the abbreviation of weblog. It would help you to provide direction when using a weblog. When using a weblog in an educational setting, it's beneficial to provide clear directions and guidelines for students. This includes instructions on how to create and manage their own blogs, guidelines for respectful and constructive commenting, and expectation for frequency and quality of both. Additionally, educators can encourage students to explore various topics, engage with each other posts, and reflect on their learning experience through blogging. So, how to use a weblog or the blog? First is use weblog with a clear instruction. It is an opportunity to explore the skill of communicating ideas. Like in a writing class, you can guide students on how to design the whole blog or upload materials and support students in developing critical communication. So, using a weblog in a writing class provides a platform for students to enhance their communication skills while achieving instructional objectives. For example, the teacher can guide students in designing their own blog, teaching them how to structure content effectively, use multimedia elements, and engage with their audience. Students can then upload their writing assignments such as essays or short stories to their blogs and receive feedback from peers and the instructor. This process not only strengthening students' writing abilities, but also teaches them how to effectively communicate their ideas in digital format, preparing them for the real-world communication scenarios. Letter B. Guidance on how to post will be needed. Te- Teach the students that the blogging is for educational purposes and is different from personal blog. Proper or formal language variety should be used. A writing prompt would help to guide your students' post. Incorporating guidance on how to post is essential when using a weblog for educational purposes. Why? Because teaching students the distinction between a personal blog and an educational blog emphasizes the need for proper language uses and formal tone. Yes, indeed. Providing clear instructions and writing prompts helps students focus their posts or relevant topics, and aligns with the instructional objectives. For instance, in an English class, students could be prompted to analyze a piece of literature, yes, and share their interpretation on the blog. Using evidence to support their arguments, this approach not only reinforces critical thinking skills but also cultivates a sense of responsibility and professional and online communication. The third one, with easy access to information. A major obligation is to teach the students to use multiple sources and cite them appropriately. Yes, just like when we are writing the research paper or the RRL, it is really necessary to cite this, to cite the author or to be correct citations. Okay, what is this? The use of multiple sources and proper citation practices is crucial in educating students about responsible information consumption. Avoid plagiarism. In a weblog setting, teachers can emphasize the importance of sourcing information from reputable sources and citing them accurately to avoid plagiarism. For example, in a history class, students could be tasked with researching and writing a blog post on a specific historical event, requiring them to consult various primary and secondary sources. By teaching students how to evaluate sources for credibility and incorporate citation using standardized formats such as the APA or MLA. I know you are all familiar with that. Educators equip them with essential research skills that are applicable across academic disciplines in a real-world context. Letter D, writing about your ideas is a personal act, but it is important that you are taught to make blogs personal without revealing too much of personal information, such as contact information into personal pictures when writing blogs. You write your reflection, but safeguarding yourself is also an important consideration. Okay, balancing personal expression with privacy is paramount with blogging. Why? Especially in educational settings. While students are encouraged to share the ideas and reflection authentically, they must also learn to protect their privacy by avoiding the disclosure of sensitive personal information such as contact details or overly intimate photos. Teachers can guide students in crafting personal yet appropriate blog posts by emphasizing the importance of maintaining boundaries and safeguarding themselves online. For okay, letter E, the last one. It may help if you can look for very good example of blogs. There are online and print publications that review blogs and you can use the information to guide you toward getting good models. Okay, seeking out exemplary blogs can serve as valuable models for students learning to create their own. Teachers can explore online and print publications that review and showcase outstanding blogs across various topics and genres. By studying these models, educators can identify effective writing styles, engaging content formats, and innovative approaches to communication. Okay, the fourth one is the Google Group or the Google Form. It's an application that can be used in a collaborative documentation of ideas contributed by members of the team. Having a Google account will come very handy and you can easily have access to a variety of applications. So Google Group and Google Forms are both valuable tools for collaborative documentation and data collection within a team. With a Google account, users can gain access to this application along with suite of other Google services, making collaboration seamless. Google Groups allows team members to communicate and share ideas and collaborate on projects through discussion and shared documents. On the other hand, Google Form enable users to create custom surveys and questionnaires to gather feedback or information from team members. Both tools facilitate efficient collaboration and information gathering, enhancing teamwork and productivity. So today, isa-isahin natin yan sila of what is the difference between the Google group or Google form and how to utilize them or how to utilize it. So first, Google Group is a group products built to offer seamless communication. It provides a discussion platform to users where both individuals and business organizations can use Google Groups. The individuals can join forums, read contents, create new groups, and more to interact with the other peoples. Business organization can communicate and collaborate with other organizations through Google Groups. The group's admin can add and remove other members within the group. Also, the group creator admin can add other admins for the group. So, you can see Google Groups sa ano nyo, sa application in phone, sa phone makikita niyo yan siya sa naka-box mo yan siya. But sa laptop, you can use it, you can search it in the Microsoft, in the Google, what you call this, in a Chrome. So searching Google Group, parang din yan siyang you are using ganito. It seems like you are using your email account. It seems like parang para siyang GC ng mga email accounts. Yan, as you can see in the pictures. Yan, may mga company, collaborative group, may personal email accounts, but it is a group. I don't know if masyadong gamit ito ng ibang but maybe in some people it is very useful and substantial. So, ito yung Google Form. Google Form is a free online form builder app that offers all the features you need to create a simple poll or dynamic survey. You can add different question types, use from logic, customize the form to match your branding, and thanks to its deep integration with Google Sheets, you can gather data and mine it with your insights without leaving Google Workspace. So, how to create a Google form? The simplest way to create a Google form is directly from the Google Form web app. Go to docs.google.com or forms. I-extract nyo lang yan and i-paste nyo yan siya sa Google application or sa Chrome. Okay. Click the blank form to create a new form. Alternatively, you can choose a pre-made template to kickstart the process. So, other way to utilize Google Form. So, you can also create a new Google Form directly from the Google Sheets. This is the quickest way to automatically sync your form data with new or existing spreadsheets. Open the spreadsheet you can to sync with your form. Click the tools, then select create a new form. Dito yan siya. Wala kasi ako ditong tawag nito Excel. So, I will utilize as an example yung sa Google Form. A blank form will automatically appear in the Google Form editor. By default, the form title will be the same as your spreadsheet. Or in the case of creating a new form directly from Google Forms, it will appear as untitled form. You can also enter a form description to help students understand the purpose of your survey. So I have here an example. So as I've mentioned, I will utilize Chrome or Google to do the Google form. So, ganito, i-paste nyo muna sa Google Chrome or sa Chrome yung link, yung kanina na sinabi ko. Then, you can add, yan. So, in this case, I utilize my research thesis paper entitled, and yun, as you can read, Educational Intervention on STEM Students' Awareness and Understanding of the Importance of Mangrove Forest. So, nilagay ko yung mga survey questions ko. I am familiar with the importance of mangrove forest, strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. So, Mga settings yan siya. And that's is the process on how you utilize the Google form. Dit so dito naman sa settings, it's up to you na kung anong i-adjust mo dyan. So it's really up to your preferences. So i-fast forward natin. If you want to send yung link, just click the button above, yung send button, and you can adjust everything here. If verify, yes, just click it here. Include from an email, then click nyo yung button sa taas, yan. Then copy the link. So I utilize my Facebook account, so I could try if gumagana ba. Yun, gumagana. So record. I strongly disagree. Then submit. Tingnan natin if mayroon bang respond doon. Yun, may response. So yun, gumagana yung link natin. So that is how easy to do the. I think that's all for today. So, to sum up, our topic is all about the technology collaborative tools. We have discussed about the wikis, the Skype, the wikis, the blogs, and Google Group and Google Forms. So, I hope you've learned something about how to utilize certain collaborative tools. So, that would be all. Thank you for watching and listening. I think that's all for today. So, to sum up, our topic is all about the technology collaborative tools. We have discussed about the wikis, the Skype, the wikis, the blogs, and Google Group and Google Forms. So, I hope you've learned something about how to utilize certain collaborative tools. So, that would be all. Thank you for watching and listening.